As you know, I'm Jomei. I want to thank those who gave me money for the YWAM adventures that I had. I'm going to start talking about a little bit about what I did for the weekly during the what do I call it? The kind of like learning part. Um, every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we started every morning out. Well, every morning we started at 7 a.m. for breakfast, and then at 8 o'clock we had quiet time for about from 8 to 9 for about an hour. And then every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday we had morning worship from 9 to 10. And on Tuesdays we had Bible study where we had about 2 hours where we just sat down and we exegeted the Bible. Basically, we broke down verses from the original text from the Greek, and we just kind of figured out more about what the deeper meaning was for the verses. Every Wednesday, we had evangelism, where we would go out to a different part of Wylie. That was where I was. I was at Wylie, Texas for my TTS, so our main part where we evangelized was in Wylie, Texas, so we would go to different parts of the city to evangelize every Wednesday or every other Wednesday. There was 2 groups. I was part of group 1, so basically sometimes we go to Walmart, we go to Target, go to the mall. We'd pair up in teams of 2, and we'd walk around just asking people if they knew Jesus or they wanted to hear about the gospel, or if they just needed prayer for anything. Every Friday we had our tracks. I was part of the construction track, so we would go out and we would give basically to someone in the community if they need help or anything working on projects. So our first track project there was this house down the street that needed new paint. So for the next 2 weeks, me and the other guy in the construction track, we basically just scraped off the paint off the side of the house. Was not fun. We'd come to dinner, we have white paint all in our hair, up our noses and everything. It was a long process. Every Thursday we had KBC, which those who were a part of it. KBC stands for Kingdoms Builders Club, which I will show pictures and introduce the kids later. Basically, there was a small little kind of like a trailer park that had a building in the middle that we would go to, and we would host just like a little kids thing for younger kids, K through 5th, so they would be able to come have a safe place to hear about God, eat a snack, play some games. This is my DTS team. This was the first weekend we went out. You could see that I was not a fan of anybody yet. I was still separate from everyone because I didn't really know anyone that well. I was still kind of like, these guys are weird. The guy on the far right of me that's Logan. He was the other construction track guy with me. Bundle of joy. Everyone loved him. If it wasn't for him, we all would be killing each other on outreach. He kept us all laughing, and he was always a joy to be around. I don't think he did anything to make anyone angry, at least that I know of. Our first foreigner in the back, that's Johannes, or what we played for the next 3 weeks after meeting him, trying to pronounce his name. I still pronounce it wrong. Then from this side, we got Julia. She is from Wisconsin. And then, I actually don't know where everyone's from. That's just one of the people I hang out with. Then there's Carly, Abigail, Mac, Cece. This is terrible. I don't remember everybody's names. Anyway, the one lady right here in the back, she actually did not finish DTS. After about 2 weeks, she actually left. No, I don't really know why, but she was not part of us anymore. Let's see, what we got next? KBC. So basically what we did at KBC was we told Bible stories. We just kind of helped with the kids, played with the kids. I was known as Jamaica. my buddy Nathan, who is one of the kids, he did not like my name. He said my name was too hard to pronounce. So he said, "You are Jamaica." So I was known as Jamaica for the next 3 months. During this picture right here, we're talking about the Tower of Babel. And we're building the Tower of Babel and watch it collapse. I'm the master of hide and seek. This is when we were playing with the kids outside, and so I was probably the main person to play with the kids outside because they liked to be intense. Everyone else did not run. This is Armando. He was another one of my favorite buddies here. He was very smart, and he was also a smart aleck. He would, most of the time, he would listen, but not really. He knew all the answers because he was the only kid that was there that went to church. So he wanted to interrupt the lessons and tell us the entire story before we got to a certain point. But he was the tag person. He always wanted to play tag with me. He always lost. This is Nathan. Nathan was another person in my kid at KBC that I enjoyed hanging out with a lot. So Armando, and you can see that hoodie I made right there for myself. I made 2 more just like it for Nathan and Armando, except they just have Mexico on it. This is during Halloween. We did a thing on Boo and Ballard for the community. So basically, we just did we had a booth that we had a board, and people would come up and write their worst fear on the board. And we would talk to them and talk about how that if you come to Jesus, that fear is nothing. And so we would talk to them about it, and eventually, if they were ready for it, they would wipe it off the board. And I ran into Nathan, and that's where we took this picture. He was at Beaumont. About 2 weeks in, maybe 3 weeks in, we had Team Builder Week, where we did a bunch of games where it was we had 2 teams split into 2, and we basically just did games. My team was the Jesus Knights. We were in the armor of God, and that's our flag right there. That's hard to see. In this picture, there was donuts hanging from the ceiling, and you had to eat the donut from the ceiling and not let it touch the ground. My team won. You can see that I am hanging from the ceiling, getting the donut. Nobody else is off the ground yet. In this, we had to work as a team to get the spaghetti to the highest point, higher than the other team, without falling over. We had to stand for 5 seconds. My team won that too. Let's see if there's no other picture of the games. But we had other games as well. My team won all of them. So basically, I was not humble. This is at my first football game ever being at. This school, Wylie East, gave an opportunity to YWAMers to come and work at the football games to earn a little bit of money, because we weren't allowed to work real jobs while at YWAM, but we were allowed to come work football games on Friday nights if they needed help. So this was at my first football game. So during evangelizing every Wednesday, I met this dad and his son coming out of the gym. And I had come up to them, and I was asking them about if they needed prayer for anything, and his dad said the dad said, "Yeah, you can pray for my kid. You can," because he was injured, and he wanted him to be like the best at sports. So I prayed over his kid, and I was going to pray for the dad too, but they had to go. At the football game, I was working the gate, and I saw the dad. He had pointed me out, and I pointed him out, and I had the chance to pray for him as well. So most of the weeks, throughout most of my DTS, I did not want to be there. It was not my first choice. I was an angry person. Everyone knew I didn't want to be there. I wasn't happy with my parents about being there. But then this week came along. We actually had the authors that taught the week, Tom and Donna Cole. And I highly suggest this book. I read it 3 times in 1 week. After this week, my heart posture on YWAM kind of changed. I was no longer angry at my parents for making me go. I was no longer angry at life. I was no longer an really just like hateful person. I was different, but I didn't feel different, but everyone around me said I was different. After I read this book so many times through my DTS that when we went to Africa, I taught on it. I taught on forgiveness several times in Africa because it was such a big thing in my life that I was struggling with to do. And so I wanted to share with other people that I was able to do it and how they can do it. Let's see. This is at our home church that our DTS landed on. I was sick the week they chose a church, but I also fell in love with this church. You can see I'm wearing the cowboy hat. I started that trend for that church. Every single week there was a new cowboy hat. When I was done, there was 6 cowboy hats total in the church, and there's pictures somewhere in that church because an old lady wanted to take pictures every single time there was in their cowboy hat. So this is our last Sunday before leaving for Africa. This is at the airport. We had to get up at 5 in the morning. It's not a good time. You can see that we're all ready to go. This was on the plane. I was not very happy. That was probably 20 hours in. It was a very long time. We had a 10-hour layover in Chicago. It was terrible. There was like, if you know like the airport chairs, every single one of them has a rail, so you can't like sleep straight across them. And so I had to like shimmy my way in underneath the railing so I could lay flat across the chairs. And that was like terrible. I slept there for like 30 minutes and I had to get up. And then my leader made fun of me because I was trying to practice my guitar and I fell asleep on my guitar. You can see Logan being the joy of attention. Let's see. Now we're in outreach. So the place we stayed mainly was Sea Nest School, primary and preschool. So when we were staying here, we mainly stayed in this compound that was basically a home for kids. We were sharing a compound with a bunch of kids. Just like, there wasn't that many kids when we got there because it was holiday, so they were all home, or at least those who had a home. Those who didn't have a home didn't leave. There's a third of the kids maybe didn't have a home to go home to for holiday, so they would stay at Sea Nest with us. This is our chapati man. Chapati was our favorite food. It's just flour, water, and salt, fried. We went down to him every single day. So he was our Uncle Chapati. So everyone that was older than you would be his uncle or auntie. So he was our Uncle Chapati. This is Moses. He was everyone's favorite. He did not speak any English, but he was the favorite. Everyone wanted to take him home. He was super sweet, and he was just like a bundle of joy. He was actually from the third village that we went to that we didn't know about until end of outreach. This is Jafari. The story behind this picture is he says he was trying to be Jomei. He says that I squint really much when I smile, so he was trying to be me. This was, as he says, my friend. He would, every time, even if I was gone for like 5 seconds, he would hug my leg and be like, "You're finally back." This is Jafari after his haircut. When they go back to school, they can't have any hair, boy or girl. They have to be clean-shaved, no hair. It's like a rule for school. This is Isaiah. This is probably one of the African boys that I bonded with the most. I bonded with him a lot when I taught about Pure Heart to him. I helped him forgive his father who abandoned him when he was young. And it was really devastating kind of leaving this place because we were only there for really in the long term, a short amount of time. And all these kids they got very attached to us very fast. And it felt very like bad of us to leave them. And he made me like 6 videos on how he doesn't want me to forget about him when I go back to America. And how he wants me to come back and visit him sometime. I taught him how to play guitar when I was in Africa. I used what Kevin taught me to teach others in Africa. Shout out to Kevin. The kid on my back there that is kind. I don't know what happened to him. Like halfway through our outreach, I guess he went home for holiday. He was one of my favorites as well. He was very sweet. All he wanted to do was get lifted. So one of the people who like run the place, they told us that the reason the kids want to be lifted up is because all the adults there don't have time to. So when missionaries come, they're allowed to get that physical attention, that physical need that they need from people to be able to grow. So every single kid wanted to be lifted. They wanted to be held. They wanted to be on shoulders, thrown in the air, everything. This is a picture of Jinja, which is the main town we went to for food, supplies, on off days that we'd go and wander the streets and the markets. This is one of my team leaders in the back. You can see there, Emily. She's Canadian. I thought this was a video. Never mind. So here we're playing Mr. Frog. Mr. Frog was a game that the kids like to play. You would say, "Hello, knock, knock, Mr. Frog," and then you say yes. And you say, "How many colors?" And you would say a color, and if you had picked that color, you would have to run to the other side. It was basically sharks and minnows, but they didn't know what sharks and minnows was. I taught them what sharks and minnows was, and they enjoyed it more. There's another one, Sudan. This is when we were preparing for a children's festival. So we did a children's festival I'm disappointed I didn't have any pictures from it because we were all so busy. There was like 7,000 kids. We weren't the only missionaries there helping. There was like a bunch of people. We had 4 tents with like 2,000 kids in each one. And I was put in charge of like 30 kids. And it was hard because half of them didn't speak English. This is when we went to the pool. These are the 4 that I was put in charge of. I told them to all make a funny face, and they all did except him. I don't know why. He kind of looked at us all like we were crazy. I asked them if they all wanted to learn how to swim. They all said yes, and then when we got to the pool, they all ran away. They all wanted to do their own thing, and they all went in different directions. They all didn't stay with me. The only person that stayed with me was Jafari. He's right there, the one like that. I don't remember all their names because they're not in English, so it was really hard. But they were all J names. So it was Mr. J and the J's. And so they were very listening to me, but not really. These are the kids from Seed Nest. So you can see that there was a lot of kids at Seed Nest. This is only like maybe a 10th of them. There was a lot of kids staying there. This was on our last night there. We had a big meal. The owner of the compound, basically, he got a lot of food, and then we had dinner with all the kids. So usually we didn't have dinner with the kids. Usually we had our dinner and they had their dinner. The kids ate posho and beans. Posho is like, basically it's Play-Doh. It looks and it tastes like Play-Doh. They have posho and they have baked beans. And that was what they had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. We had it a lot of the time, but most of the time we got lucky. We got rice and beans, which was a little bit better, but I am tired of beans. Let's see here. This is when we were walking around the outside. This is from our walk from Jinja to the compound. So we basically, if you had like 4 people, you were allowed to walk to Jinja. If you had like 3 people, you were allowed to walk to the corner store where we got chapati and like cold drinks. Let's see. I'm going to talk about a little about the villages now. So the first village we went to was called Uncle Sam's. So basically, the compound we stayed in was Uncle Sam's. And for a whole week, we just walked for miles. Basically, we'd walk like a mile until we saw the first house. And we would walk up and we talked to the person. People in Africa are way more open to hearing what you have to say than Americans. When we were evangelizing in the States, I got yelled at several times about how they didn't want to hear my crap and whatnot. And I was like, okay. In Africa, they were, come inside, sit down, let me get you a drink. The first house I came across was the leader of the Muslim church. And he was very open to hearing what I had to say. And he had already heard the gospel, so he was wanting to hear like a testimony or a word of acknowledgement, like knowledge and all that good stuff. So my leader says, Jomei, you're up. So I told my testimony and about my heart condition and whatnot. And then we come to find out the Muslim leader, he has a heart condition as well. So right there we had common ground. And so I prayed for him. We didn't know if anything changed at that point, but he was more friendly after we prayed than before. And after we had left and we were walking to the next house, my translator goes, "You have such a powerful testimony." And he goes, I told him that I never really thought about it like that. I kind of underestimated my testimony and what God has done for me. And everyone's like, "You have such a powerful testimony." And about on the 4th day, on the Thursday, we were walking, and we were going into town where they did market stuff. And one of the ladies that was selling fruits and wooden utensils and stuff like that, I told my testimony to. And she gave me 2 avocados because she felt very encouraged by my testimony. So, and then after we left, my translator goes, "See? Important testimony. You got 2 avocados for it. God has big plans for your life." He said, if God didn't have plans for your life, he wouldn't have given you this testimony. And so after we finished at Uncle Sam's, at the last day, we were having dinner with all the translators and all the pastors for all the churches around. And we got a total of how many salvations we got in that week. We got 99 salvations. And our Norwegian friend, Johannes, was sitting there, and he goes, "Something's not right, guys." And he goes, "There's no way we got 99 for no reason." And he opens his Bible up, and he comes to the passage about how God leaves the 99 for the one. And we sat there, and he read it, and he goes, God always wants us to find the one more. He doesn't want us to be satisfied with going to get just 100. Oh, we got the 100%, we're done. He always wants us to go after the next one. There's always one more that's lost. So we always need to go for the one more. Then we went to a second village maybe 2 weeks later. This one, we didn't stay very long, but it was more, we went to 3 different villages, and it got a little more demonic and dark as we went. So the second village we went to, we were there for about 4 days, and there was a huge market happening. It happens like every Monday or something. And so we went downtown, and we're walking through it, and everyone's like, "Oh, we feel this dark presence," or like something's going on. And we didn't really know what it was. And so it was so dark that that our leaders didn't want us talking to anybody. We were just praying over the town. Because everyone there was trying to scam you. Everyone there was asking for money. They wanted something from you. So but we weren't told to be rude. So the Africans there felt very respected if you responded to them. Like if they say hi and you say hi back, they felt very respected by you being there and responding to them. So basically, we were told to be respectful and respond, have a good day, but we weren't there to buy anything, and we weren't there to give money out. We weren't there to be white saviors. We were there to spread the gospel and pray for the town. That village, we had, I think it was 62 salvations. And then we went to the last village. The last village took a lot out of me. We were getting up at 6:30 to go get water. I think I have a picture somewhere. We're going to skip forward. Where's the water? There it is. Every morning at 6:30, the guys had to get up and go get water. Those are, I think, 5 gallons of water in each hand. We had to walk a mile to go get the water and a mile back. Roughly, I think, uphill and downhill. It was not fun. The girls did not have to get up. They were lucky. Basically, we did that every morning, and then our day started with we were going door-to-door evangelism again, going just door-to-door, knocking on doors, telling them about the gospel, sharing our testimonies, and stuff like that. And then we had lunch. And then after lunch, we had what they called a crusade, where we had an open mic, and we had people preaching, we had songs playing, and everyone out from the other villages could come and listen and hear the gospel and just dance and have joy and stuff. So we were there till like midnight, just dancing. And no one spoke English there. So when we were back towards Jinja, they taught English in the schools. So it was a little more easy to communicate with the kids. But when we were at this village, it was no English. It was also very darker. A lot of the kids were disabled because next to where we were staying, there was a witch. Basically, the mothers that didn't have their kids yet would go to the witch and get blessings before their kids were born. And a lot of those kids came out disabled. There was a lot of Down syndrome, kids who just had disfigurements, their eyes going different ways, limbs were short. It was very sad. And the witch was still there. Every night at like 2 in the morning, the witch would come out and start chanting, and you could hear her from where you were sleeping. And she would not stop until like 4 a.m. At this village, I only witnessed one of them, but there was also 3 demons that got cast out. The one I did witness, we were praying for her, and she broke off, swinging her arms everywhere, yelling and screeching, and ran off. And then all the children that were with us started chasing her, and then our Norwegian chased her with the kids. Then they got her back. We were praying for her again. We got the pastors to come because we were there for like several hours and nothing was happening. So we brought the pastors in, and the pastors started praying for her. They told a lot of us to back away, that there was too many of us, and she ran off again. But instead of chasing her, the pastors just kind of walked over to her. And instead of her fully running away, she stopped maybe 10 feet away from them and started running in circles until the pastors got there. Then we were told to go eat dinner, and next thing we know, the pastors are walking back with her, and she ate dinner with us. That there was nothing wrong with her. She just had dinner with us. We had grilled goat. With that village as well, we also, not only did we get 99 salvations at the first village, we ended with 99 salvations in the last village. Our entire salvations in Africa together was about 260. Let's see. We're going to go back a few slides, and we're going to see. This is when we start. This was like on off days. So we had off days on Saturdays where we could go and be tourists. This is probably my favorite day because I got to climb a waterfall. This was the waterfall. Our entire team got rebaptized under a waterfall in Africa. I had wanted to get rebaptized when I was in Texas, but a lot of my team had got rebaptized in Texas, and I didn't want to seem like I was doing it kind of purely because I'm going to follow the crowd. I kind of wanted to wait until I really felt called to do it, and then this was just like an awe time. You can see me climbing the side of the rock. Everyone thought I could not get to the top. In my military boots, I did. We went sailing on the Nile. This is the source of the Nile next to Lake Victoria, which is really interesting to see because the reason they're different, the Lake Victoria and the Nile are two different things, is because the Lake Victoria ends and there's a different water source that comes bubbling up that creates the Nile. And so when you're crossing over, you see the difference. So you could go swimming in the Nile because since it's a flowing source, you wouldn't get any bacteria, you'd be fine. But if you went swimming in Lake Victoria, you would get a bunch of bacteria because you're basically just swimming in a still water. This is Kasim. Kasim is the kind of like the leader of Seed Nest. He's the one who took us to all the villages. He's the guy who, like some of our kids that were at Seed Nest that didn't have homes, he's kind of the reason why they got taken from their homes. So Moses was one of them. Moses is from the third village, the very demonic one that had the witches and demons. Their mother was into witchcraft and an alcoholic and always drunk. And when Kasim went to that village to see if they would allow missionaries to come, he met Moses and his little sister Sabina. Sabina was probably the sweetest little thing. She was just full of life. She would always smile no matter what. But basically, Kasim took them from their home because they were not in a safe environment. They were in an environment of where they would more likely getting abused. But now they are staying in a home that is based on Christian values, and they are going to be protected. Every single night, they have prayer time. Prayer time is after dinner clean anyway. Some of us would have to clean either dinner or help make dinner for the kids. And so we'd all set chairs around the outside. We all sit shoulder to shoulder. They have a time for worship and they have a time for praise. So I can't remember what they said the difference was the two. So I think they said praise was a little more upbeat. It was like they were all dancing around and they were just praising God. And then they had worship where they kind of slowed it down and it was kind of more meaningful and kind of uplifting. And then they had messages. So a different kid would give the message each night. But since there was a lot of kids home on holiday, some of our team would get picked out to give the message. So basically, all these kids, they come from all different types of backgrounds. A lot of them came from Muslim backgrounds. But now they're being raised in a environment where they can grow and get closer to God. And most of the helpers there that were there to help with the kids and help us, they grew up there. They have their own jobs and their own places where they live, but they've been, a few of them, like Eric, my buddy Eric, he raced me up the top of the waterfall. He has been there since he was 2. And he's almost 30 now. And he still chooses, he's an electrician. He could be making a lot of money and doing other things, but he still chooses to take time off whenever there's missionaries to come help with the kids and give money to Seed Nest because he feels like that God has called him to give back to those that give it him. We had a week where we fixed up the Seed Nest school. That's where, near the beginning, when you saw me painting the sign, basically we repainted all the signs, we cleaned all the classrooms, repainted all the classrooms, repainted the walls, repainted all the metal. Basically, we made it look new. And the school that we were fixing up was actually built a few years ago by another DTS team from YWAM Wylie. So I wish I was part of that construction track, but, you know. Um, let's see what else we got. This was on the last day. We were getting on the bus to leave. Every single DTS group, every single missionaries that come there, write their name on the well where they have all their water. So we wrote our names with finger painting on the side of the well. One of our TDS members, Azalea, she could not be there because you could see I wrote her name up there for her. She broke her leg in the last week of outreach, and I got sent home early. So she was not there for that part, but I made sure that her name got put up there because she was very devastated that she could not finish it because she felt like she was not finishing her DTS, that she wasn't doing what God called her to do, even though, because she feels like she didn't do anything. And so I just want to make sure that she had her name up there because she did just as much work as the rest of us. This was during the children's festival. You can see we had another Norway team with us. There was another missionary team from Norway that was with us. You can see two of them. There was about 5 other Norway people, so we had about 6 Norwegians in total. So now if anybody of us from our DTS visits Norway, we have to visit 6 people. Water. This was the last village. These are a few of the kids that we hung out with me every single day because I would jump around with them. I would throw them in the air. Basically, they loved me so much that apparently one of the moms said that they fight because they wanted to hang out with me. This is at the last village as well. When we were doing door-to-door, these kids were following us around, and they seemed very interested in what we were saying. So as one of my team members was sharing the gospel to another people, I asked one of the translators if she could translate to the kids. And the kids just sat there in awe the entire time I told them the gospel. And they asked if they could be with, new. So they wouldn't say Christian there, they would say born again. And they wanted to be born again. So in this picture, we are praying with them to become born again. This is another picture of, there's 11 or 9 kids in this room. It started pouring rain when we were doing door-to-door evangelism. And so the owner of the house said, come inside while it's raining. And all the kids were following us, so he let the kids in too. And while we were there, I shared the gospel with the kids too. The reason they're raising their hands like that is because I asked them who wants to be born again, and they all raised their hands. So the next picture is us praying with all the kids. And after that, they spent the whole day with us. That is the 2 girls that were with me that day and our translators, and you can see all the kids walked with us for the rest of the day. We walked several miles that day, and most of them were barefoot. So I was very surprised they stood with us. Some of the kids that were barefoot, I would put on my back for a little bit because they would start slowing down because their feet hurt or something. And if you were white, they loved your hair. This was at a church that we were at to help out. We were doing children's church with them, and they loved hair because they didn't have any hair. They had to be clean cut for school, so long hair was very unusual to them. This is the dog that I definitely did not pet. You weren't allowed to pet animals because they were afraid you'd get fleas, but we had bed bugs, so I was kind of like, this seems a little off. So this is the dog I definitely did not pet. I definitely did not pet the 3 puppies that were around there somewhere. Also, it was very normal during the crusade for people to give you kids. This little girl got given to me from some mother, and she disappeared. This happened 3 times. The other 2 times, it was with babies, and my team members were like, it's time for dinner. And I had a baby in my hands, and they're like, where'd you get the kid? I'm like, I don't know. the mom's somewhere. Basically, it was very, if you were white, they wanted to hold their kids. So they just kind of gave us their kids and walked away. So that was a very new experience for me. I just got random kids handed to me. This is also in the last village. You can see more kids gathered around me. In the last village, I was actually tackled by like 20 kids and carried around the village. And then they would drop me. And then we'd run back. And they want to tackle me again. And we'd run back. And this was an endless cycle. They tried tackling another team member, like Logan. They could not. And I think that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Would you do it again?
I probably would, but not for as long because it was very difficult to be away from the people I enjoyed being with. So that's what made it feel long. If I was there for a short amount of time, I would go back several times probably. Yes.
How long before the mother came back for the kid?
A few times it was like an hour, and sometimes it was like 10 minutes. It was very unpredictable. Like the little girl that was in that picture, that was about maybe 40 minutes. The mom gave me her kid and walked away. And then I was stuck with the baby for like an hour and a half. And it was sleeping, so I didn't know what to do. I am. They want me to come back, and I told them I'm going to school first.
Where are you going to school?
I'm going to plumbing school in May. Yeah, the leader, the owner, like the guy who started YWAM Wylie, he told his daughter, who was one of my friends at YWAM, that my class was his favorite DTS. So, left a mark. Any more questions? All right, that's all I got.